Welcome to the Your Child is Your Guide podcast, where we will come together and level up in our ability to shift from feeling as victims of parenthood to empowered creators, experiencing more peace and connection in parenthood. Welcome again, where we will discuss all things empowered parenting in bite-sized chunks so it is easily digested for even the busiest parent. The intention behind this podcast is to provide support that leads to reduced overwhelm, spanking, screaming, chronic negative self-talk, mom guilt, shame, and feeling victim to parenthood and our children's behavior. The intention of this podcast and its episodes is to deconstruct many of the generational thought patterns and cycles in a simple way that leads to us all leaving each episode feeling more free, light, empowered, and able to handle whatever life throws our way moving forward. I am your host, Michelle Bowen, author of Your Child is Your Guide and Super Practical, Peaceful, and Empowered Parenting, mother to a 9-year-old. So in this first episode, I want to discuss how we are on the same team as our children. That sounds good, but the power in my experience has been to actually make it practical, make it not just a cliche or a mantra or affirmation that sounds good, feels good, but to actually wake up in the mornings and remind ourselves of this to the degree that it precedes our words and our actions with our children. We are on the same team as our children. Now, many of us may have grown up in households where that's not what we felt. We didn't feel like parenthood. We didn't feel like what we were experiencing as the children of our parents was teamwork, partnership. Many of us may not have grown up in households where our parents were viewing us as being on the same team as them. Many of us may have grown up in households where we actually felt like we were on the opposing team of our parents. So, if that's you, it can feel very hard, very difficult at times to parent from the awareness that we are on the same team as our children. Because for many of you listening to this, you are the first or one of the first few in your lineage on both sides of your family to be consciously and intentionally attempting to parent your child from team-like vibes, partnership vibes, co-creating with them, co-creating a life with them, taking their wants, their needs, their desires into consideration when you make decisions, practicing the art of holding space for not only your emotions, but also the holding space for your children as well. For many of you listening to this, you may be the first or among the first few in your lineage, on both sides of your family, to see parenthood as teamwork and to have that intention to parent from that awareness. So because you may be that trailblazer, that cycle breaker, it can feel very hard at times because you're constantly coming up against your intentions, and your desires are constantly coming up against your patterns that you picked up as children. Your patterns, your programming, your conditioning. On the one hand, you are aware that you don't want to spank in this situation, but then you have tons of patterns and programs and conditioning based on what you experienced as a child and what your family tells you should do in those type of situations, and what your peers and other people think you should do, coming up against what your heart feels to do in that moment. And it can feel hard, particularly if you did not have an example growing up of an adult who was attempting to parent consciously or from a more empowered state of being. What do I mean by empowered? When I speak about empowered parenting, I'm speaking about we are not sourcing our power, we are not sourcing our wisdom from outside of us. Instead, it's coming from within ourselves, right? We are creating the time and space throughout the day to release tension, and we are creating the time and space throughout the day to prioritize our peace so that we are the source of our peace. constantly, moment to moment, aligned with the peace that is within us. Therefore, our children's behavior, everything that's happening outside of us has less to zero impact on our state of being, on our preferred energy that we're choosing to extend to our relationships in the world, right? And so, for many of you listening to this, you may be the first one who is intentionally attempting to parent from a more empowered, self sourced, intentionally peaceful state of being. And it can feel very difficult to do so because of how some of us were raised, right? Now, feeling difficult and feeling hard doesn't mean that it's difficult and it's hard. It just means, like anything else in our lives that feels difficult and hard, it's going to get easier and easier with what? With practice. So a lot of us have been programmed to constantly affirm it's hard, it's hard, it's hard, it's hard. The action step that I want to leave us with in this episode that we can take moving forward in our day today, in our week, is shifting from it's hard, this is too hard, parenting peacefully is too hard, gentle parenting is too hard. Let's shift from, in moments that we're feeling that, let's honor that, let's accept it, let's sit with it, because it can feel hard. But let's give ourselves permission to say it's getting easier and easier with practice. And parenting from our peace, parenting from the awareness that we are on the same team with our children, it is practicable. It is something you can practice. It's a skill, just like anything else. And anything you practice, you get more skilled at, you get masterful at even. How do we practice this week to experience a little bit more peace with our children? Number one, anytime we think to say it's hard, it's too hard, I can't do this, we're going to say our affirmation, it's getting easier and easier every day with practice. Number two, we're actually going to practice. We are actually going to practice. How are we going to practice? Let's wake up in the morning. If you don't already have any type of intentional action steps going for you, if you don't already have something in place that's helping you to reduce tension throughout the day, if you don't currently have any type of game plan or structure in place for yourself that is actually helping you to achieve your parenting goals of experiencing a more peaceful home environment, one of the things that we can do starting today is we can intend to remember and parent from the awareness that we are on the same team as our children and that we have one goal. Our team has a goal today. The team that is you and your child has a goal. And that goal, how we score points on our team, that goal is to experience more peace together, more peace, more balance and harmony in our interactions with each other. So that's what I'm going to leave us with today. Something that we can actually apply, remembering that we are on the same team with our children and setting that intention to parent from that awareness, being gentle on ourselves when it feels hard because we're remembering that a lot of us didn't have an example of what it looked like for an adult to intentionally parent from that awareness. And then to actually intend, regardless of what our children are doing or saying, to intend to do our part on the team of adding balance, peace, and harmony with our interactions with our children, remembering that the way that we score points on our team is by adding more peace, harmony, and balance to the connection. So whether or not it's our children adding that or us adding it, as long as one of us does it, we are scoring points, right? And we don't really want to put, we want to recognize that we're kind of the captain of the team. We don't really want to put the point scoring on the children because then we get dependent. We become dependent on them to act a certain way or them to be a certain way in order for our team to score points. No, I invite you, or you are inviting yourself through this audio to level up in your ability to take full accountability for your team. Who cares who's the one that's scoring the points as long as we're scoring the points, right? How we take full accountability is we straight up admit and say, I am fully responsible for my team. I am on the same team as my child, and I am the one that takes full responsibility for my team and the points that we score. So regardless of how they're acting, regardless of what they're doing today, my intention is that we score a lot of points. And we score points by when either of us intentionally or consciously adds peace, balance, or harmony to the moment. We score triple points when I intentionally add peace, balance, and harmony in a situation where I'm triggered and my pattern, the generational pattern, if you will, is insisting upon me adding disharmony, screaming, spanking, etc. Keep being gentle on yourself. You are worthy of peace. You are worthy of love. The past may have taught us through experience that parenthood is not teamwork. It's not partnership. It's me versus my child, and it's the parent has to use force or fear to come out on top every time, right? That's what the past may have taught us individually and collectively when it comes to parenthood. But what we are creating, those of us who are choosing to use parenthood to expand in our capacity to create our lives and relationships from peace and love, what we are affirming through our embodiment and through our daily practices in parenthood is that there is power in my peace and that I am on the same team as my child. And that I am free to parent from my heart and to create my own life and parenting style that feels true for me. I'm looking forward to being with you guys in the next bite-sized, empowered, and peaceful parenting episode. Bye.